So what can I do for you guys?
So Baylor has been playing a lot better.
Yeah, I think Baylor's playing great. And, you know, they early in the year, I think they were preseason, you know, ranked 11th or 13th in the country. Their talent package is there. And just because they took some losses early, like they're a really good team. And they're playing really well. They beat a really good Utah team, obviously, that we're really familiar with. And so, you know, we're very attentive to what Baylor's doing and how well they're playing right now.
I know there's been a lot of flux, I guess you could say, in town the last week. It feels like things are starting to settle back into some semblance of normalcy. Is it nice to get out on the road and maybe have a bit of a trip out to Newark where you can get back into the game mindset, or does that just add a whole new level of instability, I guess?
Well, honestly, we'll see. You know, I think there's pluses and minuses to both sides. I've never, you know, obviously led through a catastrophe like this, and, you know, the perspective that's taken and the emotional toll that our players have had to carry. So there is a part of that I think, you know, going on the road may be able to narrow our focus and just have us have some family time and help us to, you know, to enjoy that. But at the same time, I don't really know. Yeah. It is going to be a taxing trip. And, but bottom line is, like, we've been knowing this is going to happen for a long time, and we're prepared for it. And, you know, it's a choice. You have to pre-decide that we are lucky to compete. We're ready. We're going to make the most of every opportunity, and we're going to create some remember wins along the way.
I was thinking about one of the prompts that you just had for them. The basketball is what I do, or is not what I do, it's who I am.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa, excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's
I'm with you.
Why I'm not a Division I athlete.
That's okay.
But I guess the last week or two, I feel like that's become a kind of major component of all this. You know, you being a human and a part of your community first and foremost.
Yeah.
How much has that message, I guess, sunk in or permeated?
Hold on one second. Yeah. Cori, go ahead and have them be quiet down there. The message is permeated, you know, I think deeply. You know, the unfortunate thing is that we sometimes learn really important lessons through really hard times. And I wish that we were better and that we could do a better job of sort of learning in the day-to-day, even when things are going well. Hold on a second. Sorry. But the reality is that it's both and. It's not either or. Basketball and being counted on to do your job and mastering your craft and being competitive and representing the four letters and fulfilling your commitments are really, really important, even in between the lines. And that does not define you. That is not your identity. And we need to have perspective for our community. And it's about who you're becoming and who you're impacting, not what the final score says. So I want both. I want us to have great perspective and realize that basketball is not what makes up our identity and that we have bigger things to be fighting for, and care about mastering your craft and being the best version of yourself for our community and for our teammates.
So having them write it down, so that's gonna have them like just remember it and just like
have it resonate. We used to do it every day, and we've since gone to doing our What Went Wells as a group a little bit. We still close that way every day, but I just thought this needed to be an individual thing, and I do think it's scientifically proven. When you write things down, it goes deeper into your memory banks. You create different neural pathways, and you remember it better.
Coach, you guys are 17-0. Also with this collective group, how did you guys? I know you guys. The job is not finished yet. I know what you're going through. But
you know me well, my friend.
Exactly.
You know me well.
So what I'm saying is that, how did you get this group to come together to still, you know, be such a light to each other?
Yeah, I love them very deeply. I love them individually and the choices they've made. I love their work ethic. I love their commitment to respect and represent this university. I love them very much. And that is why I could care less about 17-0. All I care about is 1-0. I only care about putting all of our energy to be the best version of ourselves and our best version of ourselves collectively on Monday afternoon. That's it. And it's because I love them that I hold them to that narrow standard. The road to go where we want to go is very narrow, and the standard has already been set. The roadmap has already been laid out. It just is a matter of if we're strong enough to stay on it. And few are strong enough, but I believe this team is committed to and willing to do what it takes to stay on that narrow road.
Gabs was saying that, in film you were talking about like women getting paid in the tournament. So what are the things that you're trying to like impress upon them when it comes to that milestone?
So what did she say about the tournament? The first part? I missed that.
Yeah, no, she said that you talked to them like in the film room about that a little bit, about women getting paid in the tournament.
Oh, in terms of the new unit distribution. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. That was a different film session, so I was with you. Yeah, I'm really passionate about that. I happened to be on the Women's Basketball Oversight Committee when the Kaplan report was being done, and they were talking about what needed to happen to bring more equity to the championships. And that was one of the things that came out through the Kaplan report, was that there needed to be unit distribution for the women as there was for the men. And it doesn't need to be equal in the numbers right now, but there needed to be a sense of that reflected the growth of our sport, and that we were not a Title IX box to be checked. We were a very valuable asset that's worth investing in. And this was a very, very major milestone. Another interesting milestone that came out yesterday, which I really don't have a lot of knowledge or how it's going to play out, but the Department of Education came out and talked about that Title IX does apply to the revenue share, which that was a big announcement yesterday. I don't think we know how that's all going to play out at this point, but that was another really big deal in terms of the points of gender equity. But I was directly involved in the unit distribution conversation, and I know how many athletic directors and presidents and chancellors fought for that, and really excited for how that's going to help continue to grow our sport.
Does that add another layer of incentive to get to the tournament, or like
Sure.
what are your focuses?
Yeah, well, I don't think it changes for us as much as it does like when you're a program, a women's program that's fighting for relevancy on your campus, when you all of a sudden have a potential to bring back revenue production from your performance in the tournament, that encourages a further investment from athletic directors and chancellors. You can't blame them, right? When the money is so tight and one group gets performance bonuses and the other group doesn't, who are you going to invest in? And so now when both have the opportunity to be, revenue producers for their university and for their conferences, I think it encourages and incentivizes athletic directors and chancellors and presidents to pour in as they are an investment, not just a one you have to support.
I know details matter if you're 17-0 or 0-17.
True.
But I guess I'm curious, when you're in the position of being the chased, right, and being the target as the number one team in the country, how much more do those details matter in terms of how your staff, I guess, communicates that to your players in saying everyone is going to come at you with their best every single second and every minutia is important?
Yeah, I don't think they matter any more than any other year. Because I think that's always our challenge. But I do think it changes maybe how we make it hit their hearts. Because the score is not giving them the discomfort when you don't pay attention to the details. We're still scoring. We're still winning. We're still getting stops, even when we haven't paid close enough attention to the details. So it is my job to create the discomfort when we don't do that. I think it changes our style of accountability, maybe, and the way in which we try to make the details stick in their hearts and minds. But I don't think the importance changes at all.
I'm sure you've been asked ad nauseum about this over the last week, so
It's okay.
Forgive me if I'm doing a bit of a repeat here. I feel like there's two different trains of thought when it comes to sports in the wake of tragedy. Some people kind of see it as bread and circuses. Some people see it as, this kind of healing collectivism that can happen. I know a lot of members of the UCLA family in some way, shape, or form were affected either in Pacific Palisades or in Altadena. Where do you stand, I guess, philosophically in that place of how sports can create an impact that can make a resolute community in recovery and rebuilding?
I think it's both and I think that for me, the proof is in the testimonies of the people going through it. And you know, a family that rode with us on the bus down to Long Beach that has been deeply affected by the Palisades fire, for their father to text me and say, "You have no idea what that's done for the hearts and minds of our 2 kids." That tells me what I need to know. When I get an email and said, you know, we've not had a lot to look forward to, and going to your game was what we looked forward to all week in the wake of the tragedy and losing everything. You know, when one of my former players, Erin Alexander, was on the front lines of the Palisades fire, and on her off day, she wanted to come to our game. It didn't end up happening that way. After doing 24 hours on, 24 hours off for 8 days, that tells me all I need to know. And I always want to have great humility and know that human spirit and people's lives are more important than putting an orange thing through an orange thing. We get the opportunity to provide joy, and we get the opportunity to say we're doing this not only for us but for you, and come alongside a community and maybe just shine a light, or maybe even be a healthy distraction just for a short period of time. But what an honor that is.
How are Tamia and JB?
They're good. They had a slight thing that we had planned in advance to be done with their knees yesterday, but they're fine. That was a preventative and precautionary for them to be out of practice today. Anything else?
I'm good.
Go ahead.
What was I'll start from you. Is Erin FD, PD? What was she? What was her role on the front lines?
I want to say, I even showed a picture of her out there that she sent me from her phone. I want to say she's from Orange County. She's out of Orange County, an engineer, but she was literally out there on the front lines, sending me, I was texting her like, okay, I'm in the warning zone. My car is packed. How worried should I be? But her name is Erin Alexander, and she played for me at UC Santa Barbara, and Coach Tony as well on her. But I can actually give you the picture that she sent me from out there.
That'd be great.
But she's spectacular, and I showed it to our entire team, and wanted to just celebrate who she is and the sacrifice that she's making. So appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.